You see these red and green circles? That's Naomi Osaka's 2024 season. The green represents her wins, and the red her losses. If we were to sum up Naomi's comeback season in one word, it would be inconsistent. But that would be a lazy take because there's a lot more to it, and by looking at how good she was this year, there's a chance you might have a different opinion about her by the end of this video. Okay, so Naomi's 2024 season is over. A few days ago, an MRI confirmed that she had a bulged disc in her back and also ruptured some part of her abdominal muscle. She picked up the injury in Beijing and will now miss Hong Kong and the Billie Jean King Cup. Reflecting on Naomi's comeback season, it seems unremarkable at a first glance with a 21-17 record, but going deeper into the analytics, there's a lot more to uncover. After more than a year away from the sport, Naomi found her way back into the top 100 and could very well finish the year inside the top 70. She snagged a top 10 win this year and was 1 point away from beating Iga at Roland Garros. Being able to play 38 matches this season is a win in itself, but for some weird reason, not everyone thinks so. This begs the question, how good is Naomi, and does she still have the skills to take on the best? I'm going to be responding to some of the hot takes from our subscribers in this video, so you'll definitely want to stick around. Naomi literally picked up from where she left off on the serve and remained one of the best servers on tour. The WTA isn't as serve-dominated as the ATP, but what Naomi brings to the table is incomparable compared to the rest of the tour, and in a way, it reminds you of how Serena Williams was dominant on her serve. In a way. The service motion, the power, and the precision. At 74.7%, Naomi Osaka's percentage of first serve points won is the second highest in the top 100 in 2024, only behind Zheng Qinwen. She was actually leading the tour until her serve dipped in her last tournament at the China Open. In addition to the percentage of first serve points won, Naomi's ace rate of 9.7% is only behind Caroline Garcia's 10.4%. Again, the second highest on the tour this year. Literally no other top player has gotten more from their first serves than Naomi this year, and that's gotta count for something. And with a hold percentage of almost 80%, only Swiatek and Rybakina can boast of a higher percentage of service games won among the top players. Essentially, you always want to have a big weapon to build your game around, and that's exactly what Naomi was able to do in her comeback season. In addition to that, we have the ground strokes, which need no introduction. Power and precision that Naomi displays when she's in that zone is incredible. She has the ability to choose smaller targets and hit the ball with a lot of pace. And for opponents who chip returns to Naomi, well, they just end up getting smoked a lot of the time because you then allow her to dictate the rallies. That's something we saw a lot of when Naomi beat Ons Jabeur in Toronto. Even when Muchova chipped the balls during rallies at the US Open, Naomi just ended up annihilating them. Point being made, I also love the fact that Naomi's backhand is sometimes hard to read, and that only makes it more difficult for you to stay in the rallies with her. Her forehand is just as deadly, but when she's having an off day, it becomes a horror show as she just keeps missing. Still on that Muchova match, we saw how Naomi's forehand crumbled under pressure. 21 unforced errors, with almost all of them coming off that wing. Understandably, unforced errors could be a deceptive metric sometimes, especially when you consider tactics and strategy, but there was simply no explanation for what went down in the second round of the US Open. Naomi needed just 1 point to force a decider against Muchova in the second set. In fact, she'd just broken her to take the lead at 5-4 in the second and was actually serving for the set. Even with 3 set points, Naomi somehow found a way to make 5 forehand errors plus a double fault in that game alone to get broken. Take a look at 2 of these errors here.
Can play though.
Seeing Naomi falter on her strengths during important moments is something that's happened a number of times this season, and it only leads to more questions about her mental side, which is something we're also going to touch on soon. Looking at Naomi's net game, it doesn't stand out. She does have the ability to finish off points at the net, especially coming behind her serve to finish off a point on a serve +1, but really other than that, she's most comfortable on the baseline, and perhaps that's something that's led to criticisms about her playstyle. Even before her 1.5-year break due to mental health and pregnancy, the cracks around Naomi's game were already visible. Outside of hitting hard, it sometimes seemed like she wasn't totally sure what she needed to do. This has invariably led to questions about her tactical flexibility. I had an interesting observation from Naomi's first round win over Ostapenko at the US Open. Both players only went to the net once throughout the entire match, with no one wanting to leave their area of comfort. But that only works against certain players. For someone like Karolina Muchova, that wouldn't cut it. Naomi was forced to come to the net 18 times, and she lost 10 of those points. I think it's safe to say that gone are the days where strength and physicality were enough to wear down opponents. There's more parity on the women's tour now, and I did a deep dive on just what exactly has changed about the women's game in terms of physicality, depth, and stylistic differences, and I also interviewed current and former players on the WTA tour, so be sure to check it out if you haven't already. The point being, for Naomi to become a contender in slams again, her game might need to evolve. Osaka has never been an elite mover, and there were fears on how that would only worsen after her time away from the sport. It's something she already knows about and has been working on too. In fact, here's what she said about it.
Honestly, after pregnancy, I wasn't really sure how my movement would be. I remember almost crying in frustration because I felt like I couldn't run as fast as I wanted to, and it kind of felt like I was in a bodysuit that was just like not performing the way I wanted.
One of the ways to beat Osaka is simply to move her around the court as often as possible. It's something Elise Mertens totally exploited in Toronto. On top of that, Mertens was mixing up the height on the ball with high loopy balls out wide to move Osaka while simultaneously taking the ball outside of her strike zone. Here's one of those points. Naomi also struggles to hit shots with precision when on the stretch. In order to be able to compete for the big titles, Naomi's movement could use a facelift because not only will it make her attack even more potent, but it'll also be key for her when she's on the defense. In addition to exploiting her movement, opponents found success in disrupting Naomi's rhythm at times. One of the ways to do this is by keeping balls short and low on Naomi's forehand to draw out errors. Another way to catch Osaka off guard is to disrupt the rhythm on her serve +1 or even during rallies. Here's a case in point. Naomi was expecting a different return here, but let's see what Muchova did off her serve in this play right here. Throughout that match, Muchova varied the pace and mixed things up to disrupt Osaka's rhythm, and it paid off big time. That's definitely something Naomi would want to look into because she gets caught off guard quite a bit. Now, one thing we've all known about Naomi from day one is her surface preference. After her heartbreaking loss to Iga at Roland Garros, Naomi was already looking forward to a possible rematch on hardcourt.
I played her on her better surface. I'm a hardcourt kid, so I would love to play her on my surface and see what happens.
In a way, I think that Naomi has psyched herself out on other surfaces. It's been the pattern. Before this year, Naomi hadn't played on grass since 2019. The pandemic happened in 2020 understandably, but she then withdrew from Wimbledon in 2021 due to personal reasons and missed the 2022 grass season due to an Achilles injury, before she then took time away from the sport. Naomi has never made it past the third round at Wimbledon. This year, she got knocked out in the second round by a strong opponent in Emma Navarro. Naomi is 14-12 on grass in her career, but it gets even worse when you look at her results on clay. She's 26-26 on the surface in her career, so that's a 50% win-loss record on clay and just over 50% on grass. On hard courts, by contrast, the number is close to 70%. I know Naomi put on a match of the year performance against Iga at Roland Garros, but the point is this. Personally, I would love to see Osaka look forward to clay and grass seasons with the same excitement that she shares for hard courts in the coming years. More so, with her style of play, it's not like she needs to make a whole lot of tactical adjustments when moving surface to surface. A little more flexibility tactically always helps, and it would be nice to see more layers in her game. In addition to her big serves and powerful ground strokes, it would be great to see her work with spins more, and also the slice, volleys, and a better net game. So yeah, Naomi's game needs to evolve considering the depth on the WTA Tour right now. But it's time to address the elephant in the room. One of the biggest talks this year was about Naomi's mentality, and I'll admit it's difficult to talk about because there are no clear answers. You see, I made a video about what happened to Naomi a couple of months ago, almost a year ago, and I vividly remember what the discussion looked like in the comments. It was mostly about her self-sabotage, the pressure from the media, and what people like to call a weak mentality. She was called soft, weak, and a crybaby. Now, it's time to revisit the topic of Naomi's mentality. I say this without mincing words. Naomi Osaka has done a great job in becoming more resilient to external pressure. She's more comfortable talking about her challenges and struggles on and off the court. Having said that though, there's still some work to be done when it comes to Naomi's nerve management in clutch moments. Ultimately, the goal is to raise your level during clutch moments, but let's start with not letting your level dip at least. That's something Naomi failed to do against Muchova in the second set, against Iga when Naomi was serving for the match at Roland Garros, and on a couple of other occasions. At this point in her career, with the naysayers doubting her, Naomi needs her self-belief to be at an all-time high, because from the level she's displayed at times, she has the potential to be a champion again. For now though, she continues to have a hard time coping with losses. Here's what she says about losing.
Yeah, it's a little rough because I do take these losses really personally. Like, it's like a dramatic word, but like I feel like my heart dies every time I lose, and it sucks a lot. But I've been trying to be more mature and learn and talk more about them.
Dwelling around negativity after losses is something she also admits to being guilty of, albeit she's working on it.
Obviously, I've been a lot more negative after matches, but I really feel like I'm working way harder than I've ever worked in my life, so it needs to turn into something. Well, it doesn't need to, but I think it will.
So where does this leave us? Some fans suggested that Naomi will benefit from a coaching change. Renowned Belgian tennis coach Wim Fissette was Naomi's coach from 2020 to 2022, and he then started working with Zheng Qinwen from 2022 to 2023, but once Naomi announced her comeback, they both reunited. With the way her season has played out, I thought it was time for a new voice in the box to bring in a fresh set of ideas. And although she eventually parted ways with Fissette, I'll admit I didn't see her going for Mouratoglou. It was a serious shocker. I know every partnership is different, but after seeing how things played out with Halep and Holger Rune, I just didn't think he'd be the first choice. But of course, I'm very much open to the partnership, and hopefully it works out for them. At this point, you're probably wondering, what's the deal with Naomi? Here, I'm taking questions from you and including the best ones in the video. We're also doing the same thing in the Courtside Digest newsletter, where we're answering the top questions from the tour each week. So if you'd like to be featured, join our Discord group and drop your questions in there, or put Courtside Digest in a comment on a video and ask your question right after. Karam, one of our members on the Discord channel, asked if Naomi was just unlucky with draws this season. I'll say in a way, yes. She faced some really tough opponents due to her ranking, and the majority of her losses have been to top 20 players thereabout. But Naomi has what it takes to beat these players regardless. But anyways, another subject I want to touch on before we wrap it up is Naomi's consistency. Looking at her season, it's been a total roller coaster, with wins followed by losing sprees, followed by winning sprees, and it's really just been all over the place. We see that Naomi's longest winning streak this year is 3 matches, which happened in Rome when she beat Burel, Kostyuk, and Kasatkina before falling to Zhang. She was also on a 3-match streak before retiring against Goff in China. A major source of frustration for Naomi fans is the fact that she plays insane tennis in one match and then doesn't play well in the next. It's been a recurring theme the whole season. And it's the same situation with the mental side. At times you see her full of belief, and at other times she looks a bit unsure of herself. You see those wild swings and peaks and troughs. That's something that also needs to be looked into. Naomi was supposed to build on the confidence from her match against Iga, but that didn't happen. Going forward, it would be great to see her leverage the confidence and momentum she gets from giving the current top players a run for their money. But how about we take stock of Naomi's 2024 season? First things first, we need to define what success is. In simplest terms, it's achieving your goals. Here's what success meant to the former version of Naomi.
Well, I would say when I was younger, I defined success by winning tournaments, winning matches.
This current version, however, sees every loss as a learning curve.
I feel like this year has taught me that a loss is okay as long as I learn from it.
After Naomi's loss in Cincinnati, she put up this post on Instagram. Personally, I felt like that self-reflection and honesty showed how much she's grown, and it was really refreshing for me to see. Now, I don't mean to bash here, but I think Naomi's 2024 season was disappointing at the Grand Slam level. She didn't make it past the second round at any slam, which is something that has never happened before since she started competing in the main draw at slams in 2016. So it's definitely a bit disappointing on that note. But then you ask yourself, what was the main goal at the beginning of the year? The goal at the beginning of the year was to play as many tournaments as possible to get that much needed mileage that ultimately leads to a better game and confidence. The goal was never to win slams immediately. Fans made that up. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, not many people expected it to happen this season. When you look at Naomi's season through that lens, you'll see that it's been a success because the goal has been achieved. That's half of the puzzle solved. Now the next question has already been asked by another member of the channel on Discord. KD wants to know if Naomi will dominate like before or if this is the beginning of the end for her. I'll start with the easier one first. This is definitely not the beginning of the end for Naomi. Putting together everything we've talked about so far, Naomi is on the right path to a successful return to the top. She has the game to beat anyone, and with the mental side coming together, I think Naomi still has a lot to offer. But now to the more difficult question. Will she dominate like before? Not likely, and I'll tell you why. Naomi has won 7 titles from 10 finals in her career. All of those finals and titles have been on hard courts. Even when she was dominating the tour, grass and clay were still her kryptonite, and with Iga Swiatek already channeling her inner Rafa on clay and the grass season like a lottery, Naomi isn't in the conversation on those surfaces for now. She's an outsider. And then when it comes to hard courts, she'll have to contend with a lot of depth from the likes of Sabalenka, who won both the Australian Open and US Open this year, and a couple of other tough players like Coco, Pegula, and co. It's going to be difficult, but not impossible, and it might take Naomi a while to get there. I think the big titles will come as long as she keeps up with the improvements and self-confidence. Naomi continues to remind herself of the champion she is.
Even though I haven't gotten to a final, I still, in my brain, I think that I can win these tournaments. And I feel like eventually it'll all piece itself together, and it might not be on the timeline that I want it to be, but I think it'll come eventually.
Already a 4-time Grand Slam champion and a former world number 1, Naomi has achieved what 99.99% of players dream of. On top of that, she's marketable and continues to earn millions in endorsements alone. On a side note, Naomi also made a strong fashion statement at the US Open, which I thought was pretty interesting. But yeah, that's about that. Over to you guys. What do you make of Naomi's 2024 comeback season, and what are your predictions for her moving forward? Be sure to let me know in the comments. If you liked this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you haven't seen it, I just made a deep dive about Holger Rune where I talked about just exactly what's going on with his game right now. Definitely check it out if you haven't seen it already. For those of you in Texas, I'll be in Dallas for the Billie Jean King Cup from November 14th to 17th, and then I'll be in Austin for the Drop Shot Series ITFs. So if you're in the area, be sure to say hi. Until next time, keep going for the lines.